Greetings. I'm very happy to be here with you all. I'm Christos Katsanos from the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. I'm an assistant professor there in the Department of Informatics. And together with my former student, Maria Katsikerou, and a colleague, Dimitra Ioannou, and my wife too, we did a work called CiApplication, a user-centered, mainly Maria, web app for postoperative cochlear implant rehabilitation. This is the result of an MSc thesis. Brief introduction. Cochlear implants, or I will use CI for being brief. It's assistive technology for people with deafness or severe hearing loss. You can see an example in this picture on the bottom. And it basically bypasses the cochlea and directly stimulates the auditory nerve, which means you need to relearn how to hear speech or whatever noise or whatever else. I won't go into much depth about this, but it requires extensive rehabilitation after the surgery. So our research motivation, there is a need in the literature for home-based CI rehabilitation. Of course, it's complementary training. It's not replacing therapy. People with this CI implant also do speech and language therapy and various other supporting therapists to help them relearn how to hear. And our goal was to develop a tool, this is the acronym CI from the Cochlear Implant application, to support personalized home-based cochlear implant rehabilitation. This is addressed to people with CI implants to practice exercises at home, of course, to their therapists too, to upload and personalize training material. We obviously are here, so we follow a user-centered design cycle. This is the first iteration, actually, of the tool that we report here. We involve people with cochlear implant, caregivers, because some of the users with cochlear implant were not the legal age, let's say, they were under 18, and therapists, so their caregivers were with us in the interviews. We did a user requirement study, first with a questionnaire with 32 participants, 23, as you can see, cochlear implant users and 9 caregivers. And some of them followed up with interviews, 16, open-ended questions. We also have had people involved, especially speech and language therapists specializing in CI rehabilitation in the whole process to help us with ideas, design things, etc. We did iterative prototyping and evaluation in an informal, mainly way, with a few users each time. And we did, to close the cycle, a formative user study, more focusing on some basic quantitative things. 10 participants, not involved previously in any part of the design. And they did some tasks with the tool and completed the system usability scale to get the first insight on what level of usability the system is. So some highlights. I don't have the time to go into much depth. We had a highly diverse sample of users. You can see diversion in terms of user age, implantation age, and speech therapy duration. Some key user needs we managed to accumulate. They asked for specific type of exercise, which is more or less the exercises they do in other formats, of course, mainly with printed cards and stuff in their therapy sessions. They asked for realistic listening scenarios. For example, I want to be able to participate, to listen to sounds in the phone or music with lyrics. Multi-voice exercises, many people talking at the same time. Multimodal feedback, progressive difficulty of the exercises, their progress tracking, and they didn't say gamification, but they said, I wanted to be fun, I wanted to stay engaged, stuff like this. So some of the mock-ups that we use the tool to create them, this is an example. We also developed functional prototypes, actually with the web-based technologies that were anyways used to develop the final product. In terms of implementation, You can see here some details, doesn't matter too much. Right now it's a web-based application. Okay, and why WordPress? Sorry, because the main reason that Maria was already professionally using it, okay, to be honest, but it's also, that's the convenient for the development team. It also had ready-to-use functionalities and easy to extend with plugins, but it's also convenient for end users. It has some dashboards ready that you can use it, customize things without, of course, the therapists don't know how to code, so we needed some front end for them to personalize the environment. Now, main user flows, there are actually two, one for the learners or the people with implants. We also call them learners here. Learners using CI to engage in auditory training, which is the main task. We have exercising covering what they asked, sounds, phonemes, syllables, words, sentences. I will show some brief examples. You can see here sound discrimination exercise. For example, you listen to an auditory stimulus and select the correct visual representation. You actually see an exercise on the bottom. Sorry, it's in Greek, but it was for Greek people. So it doesn't matter. Ignore the labels. It also has a realistic listening environments. For example, animals, domestic, and urban sounds. Here we got great help from the therapists that were involved in the user requirements. Some of this is actually their content from the actual exercise, but translated to the online world. Phoneme discrimination exercise. You listen to a stimulus and select the matching test from 4 options. You can see here, you can play the sound, you listen, and you need to select, here is for the days of the week, I think, yes. So you need to listen and select the appropriate answer. Of course, you get feedback, as I will say afterwards. Syllable or word counting task. Again, you listen to a stimuli and you have to count and select the number of syllables or the number of words if it's in sentence. All these are types of exercise they anyways do. And in all cases, they have immediate feedback. There is also a point system. We haven't implemented yet badges and other stuff, so it's very early, let's say, gamification mechanism. You accumulate some points and you will reach some levels that will give badges. Now, moving on to the other main typical user, which is a therapist that personalizes auditory training. He has a dashboard to upload and modify exercises for the people he actually treats. You can see here some screenshots. I won't go too much into detail, but the main idea is for him to be able to easily upload his material and select what type of exercise it is, and add images or sound stimuli he has recorded, he has downloaded, and etc. So, evaluation study, the final step I mentioned for this iterative cycle, it was mainly this part quantitative, 10 users, native Greek speakers, obviously. They did tasks with the application and they completed the Greek version of the system usability scale. The results, we have a rather good score, it's 87. I also give the confidence interval and standard deviations. This means if we take into account, because we have a rather small sample size, the confidence interval, this is good to best manageable if you see the labels on the bottom, which is from a large data set from Bagor and Tal about how we interpret SUS values. So at this point, it's good to best manageable in terms of perceived usability, which is good, but it means that it can also get better. So limitations and future directions. We have a limited participation of therapists overall, but also none in the user testing study. Of course, it's not only about usability. We need to address other things. And gamification elements were very limited, although because it was also a requirement, but we didn't have much time to develop this part. Remember, this is also an MSc thesis, so it's rather academically limited. We plan to involve more therapists in evaluation, assess clinical effectiveness, and extend features. Yep, I know it. I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for the presentation, and I think this is a really cool tool. I was really interested in the therapist's perspective, and I know that you had limited data from therapists, but maybe you can speculate a bit. I know this was not really about AI for this tool, but generally there's so much discussion about or speculation about whole professions being replaced by AI in the future. And so I was asking myself, do you think that there's a danger that in some professions the willingness to actually engage with technology and use technology in their work will decrease because there's this fear of being replaced by technology as a professional? Do you think that this is a growing problem also for interface designers in the future?
Okay, thank you very much. You are talking from the therapist's perspective, right? If they fear that they will be replaced by the machine. I think this is a recurring fear in the human society. I don't think they will get replaced. I think that as is in all terms of technology, every time we shift the paradigm, it's how we use the technology. It's not about the technology itself. I mean, you can use nuclear power to destroy or to power things and help. So I don't think, I didn't, we didn't ask them to, but they didn't mention anything about this. It doesn't have also anything about AI in here. It could have, but it doesn't. So they didn't mention themselves. They were very positive about this because they also see the need. I mean, they have sessions of 1 hour or 2 hours per week with their patients, but this is not enough clearly to relearn how you hear, because this is the goal there. So they also gave exercises at home, but this required the involvement of parents or family members to actually help them speak and they hear. So this is, they wanted to be independent, of course, both patients and caregivers. So they rather embraced this thing. It also helped that we came from an academic environment, so we said with the study, please help us, etc. So this helps too. As we didn't say we are a company, we want to sell it. You are welcome.
Perception is based on cognitive models we already have of reality, like we understand sounds and images because we have a good understanding of the source or the context. Now, if I understood correctly, this was a tool that was for a wide spectrum of individuals from 1 to 60 years old people. So these obviously have completely different cognitive models of reality. So sound, like the example you gave of different animals, that's could even a 1-year-old understand that, but perhaps more complex, more complicated examples would not be suitable for any individual who is using this. So this just makes me worrying. You said you didn't use AI, but at least to build onto the specific characteristics of a user, that would be very useful to give examples and provide cases for building this ability, which was your objective, based on perception of sounds that are familiar and images associated familiar to the particular individual. So
to help the therapist create the content for them.
Yeah, or I don't know, you had a superset and the therapist would decide on the specific one.
That was the case.
Yeah, but the machine could also perhaps build as they progress and the scenario of the particular one. And the last question is a comment. I'm really sick of seeing SUS used for evaluating this. This SUS is good for a product when you have a big sample, and just to give you an indication of how the users perceive the usability of this particular tool or instrument. This example, I think, you said first it was a prototype, it wasn't a product. and then you didn't have a big sample anyway. So it would have been much more interesting for all of us and for you to do a more qualitative research, see exactly the conditions, how they used it, how they improved, do a journal-based study, longitudinal study, interviews, focus groups. There are many other techniques we have, which to me are much more suitable for this kind of research. And with n equals 10, I wouldn't report statistics, even descriptive statistics.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the first point was that we should use AI to produce content. If I do some technique, yeah. Okay, yeah. This is not. This was not the goal of the project, anyways. So it could be a great extension in the future, but here we had the people the experts that provided the content. I can understand the limitations, but the idea is that anyways, the therapist creates personalized. If it's for a 1 year old, 2 year, he will obviously create animal sounds. If it's for an older person, he will create the appropriate content. So the second point was about using shoes. Yeah, here the main limitation was, I agree that we could use more qualitative insights as a final step, although we did qualitative parts to gather requirements. We did do interviews and evaluations for the, but this was an MSc thesis, so we can't do many longitudinal things. I mean, so it was at a point that we had to say it's over. Yeah, it's over, because she wanted also to Maria to earn her MSc thesis. But of course, I can understand the criticism on this.